We're just getting started here. Welcome, everyone. Please feel free to use the chat to share with us your name and where you are tuning in from. And if you wish to, you can also share what brings you here today. And we're still letting some people in. And we will start in just a moment. Jessica from Hawaii, welcome. Greg, Lexington, Curiosity, beautiful. Okay. You here today. Okay. I'm hearing the YouTube, but now I'm not hearing it anymore. So I think we're good. Okay. John, also from Hawaii. Wisdom brings you here today. Drew, Hudson Valley, Hope. Dylan from Tucson, different voices. Beautiful. Janet, Virginia, happy to be here. Santa Fe, welcome, Maryland. Okay. Missouri, very curious. Melanie, awesome. Christine, always interested in what Ilarion has to say. Beautiful. Welcome. Awesome. Okay. Maria, wow, Dillingham, to learn and allow space for growth. I love that. May we all. Crystal, San Francisco, curiosity. A lot of people with curiosity here. Linda, welcome. Wisdom from elders. Hey, Ahima. San Diego. Beautiful. Okay. Just admitting the last few people from the waiting room, and then we will begin. Okay, I think I'm going to start. So let's see. So, hi, everybody. This event here is Ancient Wisdom for these turbulent times. And you see here with me, Dr. Shariff Abdullah and Ilarion Merculieff, Kuuyux. And I'm Olivia Frazao, and I will be moderating their discussion here today. So tonight is the first of 3 events. They're all going to be on the same Thursday, same time. So the next 2 Thursdays also. And they will all be on this same link. So please do spread the word. You will also be getting a recording. You can share that with friends who want to come and miss the first one. So welcome to everyone who is here with us today. Tonight, we're going to be together for an hour and a half. So the first hour is going to be the discussion between Shariff and Kuuyux, and then the last half hour, we will do a Q&A. So consider as you're listening, you can gather some questions, and then I'll ask you in the beginning of that last half hour to share your questions in the chat, and that's when I will be reading the chat for your questions. And also, this is live streamed on YouTube. If for any reason that might be better for you. Sorry, I'm just still admitting people here. Okay. And the other thing, video. If you are with us, seated, ready to focus, please do have your video on so we can have more of a community feel. And if you're multitasking, moving around, you can keep your video off and still listen to us. We're happy to have you. So also, Shariff, if you could please share any link or button for donation. This is a free event, and if you wish to share any donation, that is something that Shariff will be posting in the chat. Okay. Welcome, Elaine. Welcome, Becky. And there is in the chat, thank you, Shariff. Shariff just posted a link there if you wish to contribute anything. Okay. So I will share a little bit about each of our speakers here, and then we'll begin. So Kuuyux here, Ilarion. Kuuyux is the founder of the Global Center for Indigenous Leadership and Lifeways, gsil.world, and the Wisdom Weavers of the World. He has led many organizations and gatherings, including the North American Gathering for the Healing of Mother Earth, facilitating the Indigenous sessions for the Global Gathering of Indigenous Peoples on Climate Change. And recently, he was co-organizer for the Wild 12 Congress that involved representatives from 80 countries. Indigenous Ways of Knowing was at the center of the Congress deliberations. Shariff here is the founder and executive director of Commonway Institute. Shariff has traveled to over 120 distinct cultures spanning 45 countries on every habitable continent. He uses his experiences as a lawyer, an author, an activist, a world traveler, and a student of many wisdom traditions as he explores the role of intellect, spirit, imagination, stories, strategies, and structures for creating change and reimagining the future. Shariff consults with individuals, government agencies, businesses, and social service organizations working on the leading edge of change. Welcome, Shariff, and welcome, Kuuyux. So how about we begin with Kuuyux opening us up with an invocation? Go ahead, Kuuyux.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Please get grounded and breathe from deep down instead of up on your chest. When you breathe from your the chest part, you're still stressed out. So you breathe deep from the stomach. We are thankful for this day. We're thankful for all of our loved ones. We are grateful that we are gathered here today seeking answers to what we must do now, given all the challenges that we're facing in the world. We are thankful for all that we have been given, because we have been given all we need. We are thankful for all that Mother Earth gives us, including Mother's teachings, which are everywhere, including the teachings of our relatives, like that of the eagle that teaches us that we too can soar high and see far. Like the owl that teaches us that we too can see in the dark. Like the trees that teaches us that we must be grounded in order to grow tall and be strong. These and the countless other teachings that are inside and outside of us, if we have the ears to listen and hear. And we are thankful for this gathering of people of like-minded heart. Aho, kala koinis.
Aho, thank you, Kuuyux. Okay. Kuuyux, we just lost your video. Can you still hear me? Okay, there you are. Great. Okay, so let's begin the discussion. I have a question for both of you, but how about we start with you, Shariff? My question is, what brings us all together here tonight?
This is an outgrowth of something that happened over the course of the last couple of months, I guess. Ilarion, Kuuyux, and I have been having talks on Zoom. We'd set up the talk to last an hour, and then we go 2 hours. And then we talk the next week, and we go another 2 hours. And at somewhere in there, one of us said to the other, other people I think might be interested in what we're talking about here. And so that's evolved into this event here. So that's at one level. At another level, I think that a number of us are looking for answers. We're looking for direction. We're finding less direction coming from outside. And many of us are having an inward turning, a feeling that there's something emerging inside. And so I'm trying to allow that to happen. I'm working with people who are working to try to make that happen. And I think that it's a larger movement. I was looking down our list of participants, and I see some names I've seen for a few decades, and I've seen some names I've never seen before. So I think it's something that's emerging. We're looking for a new way, and I think that we, all of us, represent that new way.
Beautiful, thank you. Kuuyux?
Well, ang wan, ang kinakakamna, ang kinakasuda, tinunangin ng nasa Kuuyux. I said, ang wan, hello, my other self. That's the way we greet each other every day in our language. And that the morning, the afternoon, or the evening tastes good. That's ang kinakakamna, ang kinakasuda. I said I am, we don't use the word Aleut, but that's what the Westerners call us. We call ourselves Nungan, which means the people by the sea. And I said my traditional name is Kuuyux, which means I was given that name at 4 years old, but last Kuuyux I was left alive amongst our people. And I've been living the legacy of that name, which means like an arm extending out from the body, a carrier of ancient knowledge into modern times, a messenger. And I've been living the legacy of that name for a long, long time. And, you know, how we got together, you know, people that are so different, Shariff and me, different from each other, and had similar kinds of experiences. You know, he has worked locally, nationally, internationally, so have I. He is on his spiritual journey as I am, and he recognizes that we are at a point in time that that we're all working with. And so we arrived at the same place at the same time. And thanks to Milt Markowitz, whom I see is here, hi Milt, he introduced us a while ago, and now we're here. And welcome all of you. From my viewpoint, the indigenous viewpoint, you are all sacred beings, and that we have chosen to be here at this particular point in time on Mother Earth for a purpose. And we're going to explore what that is.
Thanks, Kuuyux. So what is that purpose? And can you share a little more? That's the question. And if you're going to skirt the question, a follow-up would be, what is the message that you would love to get across? And Shariff, this is also for you. We'll start with you, Kuuyux, to the people here tonight and anyone who you would be able to share the message with. What do you feel in these times is the most important thing that you could share?
Yeah, well, as noted, I co-founded the Wisdom Weavers of the World, which is composed of elders from throughout the world that are spiritual but not religious, and gathered in Kauai in 2017. And we held ceremonies in all the traditions that were there. And during the day, we talked, and we only asked two questions. What is the state of the world as we see it now? And what must we be doing now? And so that was put on a film. It's very short, 15 minutes of messages of the elders. And it was launched by Reuters News Service internationally, translated into 15 different languages, and seen by over 80,000 people the first day. So it was a good launch, and if you're interested in that, you can go to www.gcill.world. And anyway, the elders are focused on helping people change their consciousness now. Because they said that Mother Earth is starting to flex her muscles, so to speak, We see the fires, the floods, the earthquakes, the turmoil in the world, and she's increasing these kinds of activities to come closer to human habitation, not out of punishment, but out of a need to cleanse herself. And so they are these kinds of things, according to the elders that I work with, are going to intensify much more than we have seen so far. And with the political turmoil that's going on and the violation of women, the trafficking of human beings, the murders, the suicide, blah, blah, we are experiencing changes that human beings haven't felt since the beginning of time. And we, according to our elders, we invented time when we came out of the present moment and from the heart. And that when that happened, we started to mark time. And so we are, they're saying that we need everybody now. And we need them to help to make sure that Mother Earth doesn't have to increase her strength much more than she's already doing. And Mother Earth has survived for billions of years. She's going to survive for billions more. It's a question about whether or not we humans are going to be here. And so that's what we're exploring.
Thanks, Kuuyux. Shariff?
Yeah. This is one of the things that makes our conversation so special, because I just agree with everything he just said. I've got a couple of stories that I thought about when you asked the question of what is the message that we want to get across to people? What's most important? The most important thing is the thing I've been saying for somewhere around 60 years, and that is we have to change our consciousness. Now, when we say that, everybody says, yes, we have to change our consciousness. And everybody's thinking, we got to change that guy's consciousness over there. Wow, he's really, bad. The problem is we don't translate that to ourselves. So I had an experience. I was in Uganda some years ago and doing some work with the United Nations, doing a workshop for Ugandan middle managers. And one of the whites who came from the UN with me, they were observing my facilitation. So I'm sitting in a room filled with Africans at breakfast, and we were going to get started in a few minutes. And one of the white consultants walked over to me and said in a loud voice, "Is anybody else here?" And the room goes silent. And I looked over at the Africans and I looked at him and I said, "No, there's no one else here." And then he bustles out, "Okay, well, I'll be back in 5 minutes when people show up." So we all did what people of color do when white people do things like that. And one of the participants said, "He does not see." And I said, "Yeah, he doesn't see. And that's why I do workshops and trainings, etc., to help people like that see." And he says, No, you do not understand. He doesn't see. He can't see. He can never see. He needs us to help him see. He needs us to see for him. And he doesn't know that. And that's the whole problem. And so that knocked me out. I understood that we all have to help each other. But if you don't recognize that you have to be helped, then you do stupid things like insult people to their faces. And he went on to say something else. He says, we've had difficult times with whites for 500 years. He said, we had slavery, we had colonialization, we've had oppression. He said, we've got whatever we've got right now. And then he said, 500 years isn't that long a period of time. We're really going to work this out. And I just thought that was the most hopeful thing that someone could say in that circumstance. It's like you can be as thick as you want to be, but you can eventually get this. You can understand this. You can learn this. And I thought that was incredibly helpful. So the most important thing that we can get across to people is that we have to change our consciousness. We have to change the consciousness now. And yes, I really mean you. I mean each and every one of us, including me. And once we get to that point, we can start to help each other where we cannot see and not make the assumption that, oh yeah, I got it already. That's my contribution.
Yeah, and I hear what Shariff says, and unlike him, I agree with everything he said. Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do when we actually disagree on something. It could get messy.
Yeah, like Shariff's ancestors, I was born as a slave, and it was a slave of the U.S. government. My people were on the Turbulent Islands in the middle of the Bering Sea, and the government controlled everything, including ownership of the houses that we lived in, and the food, and the clothing, and the bedding. I remember sleeping on a World War II cot, military cot. And so we really had to struggle to get our freedom. And it was at the coattails of the Black people in 1966 that we achieved our freedom, where we could vote in elections and create a city and own our own houses and, everything. And it gave me a unique perspective on living in this world. My elders, they never showed or behaved or thought or talked about anything that indicated that they were hateful of our oppressors. They said, basically that, trying to having anger or rage toward anybody will result in not hurting them, but hurting yourself. And in hurting yourself, you hurt your people. And, that was good showing on their part that affected me and what I do now. And, I've been doing about 3 video gatherings on Zoom every week for the last 3.5, 4 years. And I've talked to hundreds of thousands of people. And I tell you, all the people that I saw and what interacted with showed that they are ready for change. And it's change not of the physical outside world, but change in themselves so that they can address what the problems of the world are. Einstein said, you can't solve the problem by the same consciousness that created the problem. And that's what we're doing. So if you examine anything that we've done, you will see how that is true. And what changing one's consciousness to me means is what Westerners call thinking outside the box. And most people don't have a clue about what that means. Right now, according to our elders, the mind is telling the heart what to do. When traditionally the heart would tell the mind what to do, and the mind's job is to implement that which your heart is telling you. But most people are not in their hearts because of the traumas that we face over generations. And certainly here in the US, there's all kinds of reasons for the traumas that we experience in our lives. One of which is, when war veterans come back home, they are traumatized because they don't want to remember the horrors that they experienced of wars. And they developed addictive behaviors of all kinds, some drinking, some drugs, some 3 packs of cigarettes a day, 17 hours of television a day, 20 cups of coffee, whatever. And they pass along these behaviors to us so that it's here with us today. I don't think there's a human being that doesn't have some kind of trauma that they're working with. And because of those traumas, lots of people don't want to go to the heart because that means, re-experiencing the trauma. And, there are ways to deal with that, but we're not going to get into that today. But the thing is, when we're thinking out of that kind of homecoming, we're not thinking clearly. And we need to think clearly now. And the answers are in our hearts, not in our mind. The mind is logical and rational. The heart is trans-rational, I say. It never guides us wrong. It always guides us right. But many times the mind likes to pose as the heart, and it's very clever because ego wants to survive, and going to the heart means you let go of ego, and so we are uncertain as to whether or not we're thinking out of our minds or our hearts or both, and we've got to come to the point, I believe, to where we can listen to our hearts without any mental filters.
Beautiful stories, beautiful teachings. Both of you have very similar focuses and views of what's important. Shifting consciousness, being in the heart, truly seeing, connection, compassion. And you both have very different histories, upbringings, personal experiences. And yet your different personal experiences brought you to the same place in terms of vision. Could either of you or both of you share maybe a story from your past or a little bit simply more information about certain life experiences that moved you, that opened you, that taught you, so that we can hear a little bit about your personal story and how it connects to the wisdom that you're sharing here today?
Shariff, why don't you start?
I was just about to say, Ilarion, why don't you start? He said it first, so I guess he wins. One of the things that struck me from the very first time that I met him was how amazingly different our lives were. He was talking about being, and I'll let him tell his stories, but he was talking about being a young child growing up on a small island in the Aleutian chain in Alaska. And I realized that there was nothing that he was saying that I had any point of reference for. Nothing. You know, he could have, if he came down as a Martian, maybe he is a Martian. Actually, let me not start joking around here, or maybe let me start. But there's no point of reference in terms of my upbringing, my living. Those of you who know me know I was born in Philadelphia, and I wasn't raised. I survived Camden, New Jersey. Time Magazine's worst city in America. We're number one. And the things that I saw as a child were, on the one hand, horrific, but it just simply meant that wherever all of us are going, Camden got there first. So if you remember the scenes from the movie The Titanic, the folks who were up in the upper decks were wondering why the table was a little bit tilted now, and they're still getting their dinner, desserts and things like that. The folks down in steerage were already underwater. So that's what our world looks like right now. There's a whole bunch of folks down in steerage, and there's a whole bunch of folks who are oblivious to that. When I was 10 years old, 10 or 11, I had a job at a hobby shop back when there were such things as hobby shops. I'm dating myself here. And another of my friends also had a job at the hobby shop. And he was there because he was a glue sniffer, and he had access to all the glue in the world. And I found him down in the basement. He had, for those of you who know about sniffing glue, you pour it in a paper bag and you put it over your face, and you're what they call huffing it. And he had nodded off in the bag. The bag had glued to his face, and he was suffocating. And I got the bag off of his face and got his nose cleaned out, and he started breathing again. And on the one hand, I'm like, oh yeah, I just saved somebody's life. On the other hand, over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, he went on to kill 4 or 5 people. And he had no reason, or there was not a reason that we could understand. He wound up, okay, so he's killing black people, and in the judicial system, that's basically a misdemeanor. Nobody cares about that. Okay. He graduated when he was 16, and he killed a white person, and that, oh God, goodness, front page headlines all the way up to New York City. And when I was told that he had killed a white milkman, I said, I don't think he was there. So I asked the question, said, did they find any money on the milkman's body? He said, yeah, he had like $600 in cash and checks on him. I said, yeah, well, he did it. Anybody else would have taken the money, but that, he wanted to say that I didn't do this as a thief. I did this as a murderer. And For those of you who are saying right now, I don't understand that, I don't understand what someone's motivation for that would be, I don't understand, it made all the sense in the world to me at that time that you could have that much anger, frustration, disconnection from the heart. Kuuyux is saying, he wasn't connected to his heart. We didn't even know we had them. We didn't know it did anything except pump blood around. And so what I've had to do over the decades is teach myself how to love, to teach myself how to connect with others, to teach myself even how to hold my own children, that it was really important to do that. And I'm happy to say I've learned how to do that. And but the bottom line is, we cannot expect a person, just because they use the same words that we use, just because they go to the same schools we go to, etc. We can't expect them to actually have an operating heart. It's not something that we should take for granted. The people who made nuclear weapons, and the people who used them, and the people who are threatening to use them right now, they're all educated, they're all civilized, and for all of them, there's something fundamental missing. And our job right now is to awaken the missing parts and get that going as quickly as we can, because we've painted ourselves into a corner. And in that corner, things are going to change. And some of us will be asking, why does it change this way? Well, it changes that way because we have to start a process of being in our hearts. And I think one more really quick story. This actually happened, something that happened in Boston. This has to do with love. In the projects in Boston, the woman was in her kitchen and was cooking food. Her child, I think like 2 or 3 years old, was playing near a window. Slipped, fell against the screen that was in the window, pushed the screen out, and was falling in the air. This woman ran across the kitchen, grabbed the kid by one arm as he's dangling out the window, and hauled him back into the house. Later that night, the kid is complaining that his arm hurts. Took him to the hospital and saw that she had crushed all the bones in his arm. Now, that's called love. She was not going to let him go. Now, we can talk about all the cute fuzzy bunny love we want to, but when we are ready to exercise our love in the world, to put that love in action, and put that love in action in a way that we could actually damage this child in order to save his life. When we're ready to do that, when we're ready to start applying love, I think that we're going to see a completely different world. And if we're just doing the cute fuzzy bunny love and, I love everybody and everybody loves me and I don't want to say anything bad about anyone, etc., then we're missing our opportunity to make fundamental change, out of love.
Yeah, that's quite a story, Shuri. I guess I would add to that my own story. You know, the sages of the world have always said, if you want more love in the world, you have to become love. Not think love, not do love, not act out love, but become love. Same thing with, if you want peace in the world, you must become peace. And these are things that the sages of the world have said for thousands of years. Now, I'll give you an example of love that I know. One time, the Yupik elders in Southwest Alaska invited me to their home. They didn't tell me why I was going there, but I decided, I told people, I'm going to do whatever the elders say. And so they invited me to go to Southwest Alaska, where they were holding an election of prime chief for 56 villages. There were 7 candidates, and all these candidates were up at each other's throat, just like in the recent election that we had. And it was disruptive in all the villages that were there, because family members wouldn't be talked to family members, and it broke out into organizational squabbles and city council and all of that thing. So it was so disruptive that the elders decided to do something unprecedented, and that is they took over control of the election, and they didn't care who voted. They were caring about what the process was for being elected. And so they took it over, and I got to Bethel and went on a snow machine to what do you call that gallery, Olivia? I can't, the word skips my mind. Anyway, we went to a place where there were about 400 people gathered. And the elders spoke up and said, we took over control of this election because of the disruption it's causing all of our people. And we only have 2 rules for this election. One is that everybody who's running gets to speak about each other, and we're going to say who speaks about who that's running. And the other is the one who says the most good things about the other will be the winner. And you feel, the people were just, oh boy, this is we're in for it now. And so the people who were running knew that if they told a lie or exaggerated what they were saying, the elders would know, and you're automatically disqualified. So you couldn't run. So they really struggled on trying to tell each other the truth about good things that the other person had, instead of like today's elections where you say the worst things about the other person. And so the 2 that were at each other's throats got together, and they said, I said bad things, and one of the persons said, I said bad things about you, and I'm very sorry, and I ask for your forgiveness. And they came together and hugged each other. And there wasn't a dry eye in the place. And 3 days later, all the disputes in the villages disappeared. Because they were saying good things about each other. But the thing is, the 2 most popular candidates didn't win. But then one other story, I was the president of the village corporation here in Alaska on the Pribilof Islands in the middle of the Bering Sea at one point in time for about 10 years. And we would have an annual dance. So I went down to the dance in the evening, and right before the building, there were a group of about 20 men. They were gathered in a circle around one person who was holding a knife. And I immediately said, you know, you all got to leave. Just leave us. And reluctantly, the men did that. They left. They were trying to talk him out of killing himself. And so they left, and it was just him and me. And I just made eye contact with him and maintained that eye contact and talked in a very gentle voice. I said, you know, Butcher Boy, you don't want to do this. I know you don't want to do this, and I know that you're hurt. You're feeling very alone. I'm here. I'm here for you. And I walked towards him slowly until the knife he was carrying was up against my chest. And I said, you can kill me if you want, but I know you don't want to do it. And he dropped his knife and dropped to the ground in a fetal position, crying. He was crying. And I just held him. That's all I did. I just held him. And to make sure that he was okay for the night, I had two men watch him, and he was okay. And in fact, he became a contributing member of the village in a way that would boggle your mind. Because, well, one of the things he did, he came to me and he was crying. He said, you know, I have to take care of my friend who was paralyzed from the mid body on down. He was half his body was paralyzed. And he said, you know, it hurts me, but I knew I had to help him, where he reached into his rectum to get out the feces. He had to do that every day. And it was painful for him and for his friend, but he did it anyway for 20 years. You know, this is just two examples of what it means to love. We have to be love. And then that love only comes from the heart. You know, the heart has love, has patience, has understanding, has all these different kinds of things that we seek in life. If we get rid of or stop or slow down or something, the mind stops, because the mind is never present. The mind is always in the past. You know, like we have guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, jealousy, all these things in the past that are living with us today. Or we're fearful, which is projection into the future of something that hasn't happened yet. Every place except the proverbial now. When we're in the now and in the heart, you will do what is necessary during that time. Every one of us are gurus now. There's no singular guru. You have the answers in your heart.
Thank you, Kuuyux. Wow. These stories, we're not even at an hour, and there's such richness. There's the mother saving her child and hurting him in order to save him. There's an election run in a way that, to be honest, I don't expect to ever see, but I hope I'm wrong. And saving a life, Shariff, that then kills other lives. The fact that Kuuyux grew up in slavery in this lifetime. There is such richness here in both of your backgrounds and the stories that you've personally experienced and that you've heard and are sharing. So something that is coming through for me right now is, Shariff, when you said love in action, there's a type of love here, Kuuyux, your bravery, helping someone who could have hurt you. And Shariff, even this, I would say, some form of compassion of the African person in that meeting saying, we need to see for this white guy who can't see. Kuuyux, you saying that forgiveness, you were taught to forgive those who imposed oppression onto your people. So we're seeing already through the stories, definitely all these, so many of these stories are showing love in action. But I want to ask, and perhaps we'll go with you, Shariff. Do you have any particular statement around that or story around that, where, as you said, not just that the fuzzy bunny love, but what is the type of love, and how could that, what can that look like? If there's anything else you want to add to what you've already shared, of how we're going to need to step up into that love, especially in the trying times that are here and that will continue. Thank you.
Yes. I know a lot of people are have come to me and told me that they were upset at the results of the last election. And upset is too mild a word. I mean, people were talking about being traumatized, being incredibly angry, and I felt that anger radiating off of them, in pain, etc. And that they were they have been in mourning for something dying. And I have been working as hard as I can to ask them to change their perspective, because that perspective doesn't get you what you want. For those of you who have been pregnant, and for those of us who have been partnered with someone who is pregnant, you know that it's an incredibly messy process. It is. Yeah. For those of you who haven't, I could describe it, but you should experience that for yourself. Not only messy, yucky, drippy, but also painful. And as soon as that baby is born, you forget the pain. And I mean, it erases the pain. It's like it's not there anymore. And your whole focus is on that baby. So the people who are despondent and angry, etc., they simply don't believe that they're pregnant. They don't believe there is another society coming right now. And that everything that they're seeing, absolutely everything that they're seeing, are the signs of this new society about to be born. So there's a story in my latest book, Birthing the Nation of Gaia. Woman in Uganda was having a baby, and she did all the things that she's supposed to do, you know, hospital visits, Lamaze, the whole 9 yards. And she does all the things that she's supposed to do. She goes to the hospital, yelling, screaming, you know, pushing, breathing, and out pops a baby. And they wrap it up, they clean it off, wrap it up, take it home. A week later, she's complaining to her husband, having really bad stomach pain. Take her back to the hospital. And when she is goes in and says, "Yeah, I'm having this stomach pain." The first question they ask her is, "Are you pregnant?" And she says, "I just had a baby last week." So they said, "Okay, we know what to do." And they start doing everything to her, to a woman who's pregnant, that they should not do. They're about to cut her open, and out pops another baby. She's one of the rare women who had two wombs. Her husband got her pregnant in both of them a week apart. And um, so she had two babies stretched over a week. They are not twins, just happen to have two wombs. The point that the reason that she's in the book is for a very important reason. If you don't know that there's a baby coming, you think that you're dying. This woman, they thought that this woman was about to die. All of her signs said, this is really, really bad. And they, luckily, baby had its own time, and out popped the baby. There's another woman in England where this happened. This woman was not married, and she was having sex with her boyfriend, but she was keeping careful menstrual records in one of her one of her wombs. The other one had a baby in it, and she goes and tells her symptoms. I'm having incredible pain, and I'm leaking, and the first question they ask her is, "Are you pregnant?" And she said, "No, I just had a period 2 weeks ago." So they start giving her muscle blocks, muscle relaxants, nerve blocks. They did everything you should not do to a pregnant woman, threw her into a coma. And while she's in the coma, out pops a baby. So she comes back out of the coma a week later, and they said, number one, you're out of the coma now. And number two, here's your baby. And she says, "Get that thing away from me. How long have I been in a coma?" So, um, our, I am firmly convinced that everything that we've been seeing, absolutely everything we've been seeing, including the last election, are all the signs walking us toward this moment where we get to redefine what it means for us to be living in a civilization. All of our civilizational institutions have come under fire. All of them are getting swept away. We get to act like the founding fathers and mothers of a new society. And this is an amazingly alive and hopeful moment. We get to do it right this time. I don't want to take too much away from our founders for this society. In the 300 years ago, I think they did a really good job. As flawed as they were, they did a really good job. We, though, can do better. We can go way beyond that. We can take this notion of democracy to a whole new level if I'm operating from my heart, if all of us are operating from our hearts, and we're getting cues on how to work and how to live in that situation. And I just looked at the clock and I said, okay, maybe I should be shutting up now. So let me do that.
Good one, Shariff. I
Beautiful.
think we're at the point of asking questions or whatever.
Yes. So we are going to open up for Q&A now. So if you have a question, please write in the chat your question. Thank you to both Kuuyux and Shariff for these amazing stories. And we have another half hour now for the Q&A. And as you are writing your questions in the chat, I'll just say, this is an amazing array of optimism and a fire under our butts. It feels like the soft love and the tough love and all kinds of love. And the strength that we are called forth towards feels inspiring. And it's beautiful to have that level of both optimism and power as the same thing here, feels like. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we have a question from Christine, and I'll let either of you, Shariff or Kuuyux, begin. The question is, so how to practice living from our hearts, how to practice acts of love. And John, I'll add this together because it's similar. How do we learn to use the heart wisdom first before the head? Who wishes to go first?
I'll take crack at that. First of all, the mind and the heart are one. That's what we understand. But what takes the lead during that time that you're using the mind is really vastly important. I think you all agree with that, that we ought to be able first to listen to the heart, and then the mind's job is to implement what the heart is telling you. And so, I asked one of my elders, what is this thing about culture anyway? I mean, why do we do these songs, these dances, these chants, we wear our regalia and all that kind of stuff? And he said, well, the teacher for our culture and how we got it? We looked at and watched a 2-year-old child. And the reason for that is that we are mental, spiritual, and physical energies that are vibration that we reflect out to the world. And when you watch a 2-year-old child and 2-year-old children playing together, you see what they're doing. They're expressing themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually. They're just, I watched two children one time, both boys. They were 2 years old, and they're playing with each other and happy, and then all of a sudden one of them got mad at the other, and he just took his whole body and just wailed. And then after a couple of minutes, he was done, and they were playing again. We are energy beings, and that we have mental, physical, and spiritual energies. I think most of you would agree with that. And they're saying that if we take our energy and put it into things that we're trying to stop, like, whatever it is that you want to stop in the world, as good as it may seem, that energy, mental, physical, and spiritual energy, goes into that thing that you're trying to stop and makes it bigger. And so things get worse. I mean, in this election, for example, we are, the elders are saying, what kind of model are they doing for our children? They're one-upmanship and fighting each other and all that kind of stuff. And they said, because of that, the next generation is going to do it even more. And we've got to be aware of what we're doing. But anyway, am a visiting scholar at Columbia University, amongst many other universities. And at Columbia, I gave my presentation to, I think, 100 doctoral candidates. And that's where Olivia and I first met, actually. And she was a student at that time. We talked about how to accomplish this thing of going to the heart. And one of the ways to do that is to first stop the mind from leaking into our heart. And so what I suggested that they try, like the 2-year-old child, how many of you have bounced up and down on beds when you were a child? Huh? How many of you have done that? Many people do. And the children laugh and all these kinds of things. So I said, okay, here's what you can do. Now you got to do it in a place that is safe, because most people will think you're crazy for doing this. You do gibberish for an hour. As children, we did gibberish. And you do that gibberish, and while you're doing that gibberish, do something different with your face, because we're so stuck into a society where facial expression is not used very much. So you lift your eyebrows, you do your eye thing, you make funny faces, you do all of that stuff while you're doing the gibberish, and do it for an hour, and then lay down and feel what you feel. And you do that every day for 30 days. And you will see what it means to not think. And that's what I learned when I was 6 years old from the seabirds that were in the Pribilof Islands, which is in the middle of the Bering Sea. They taught me how not to think. Now, that's another story that can go a long way, but I'll tell you, that's when the magic happened. When I shut off my brain and just become my heart and listen to my heart and feel my whole body, I became a field of awareness. And that's one of the things that happens when you go to the heart.
If I can piggyback on that for a bit. First of all, Ilarion made a couple of references to slavery and growing up as a slave. And I thought that he was being metaphoric until I actually went and looked at the history of the Aleutian Islands. I would recommend all of you to do that. And this is not a metaphor. Okay, I thought this was, this is crazy making, but I just want to say that. Look it up for yourself and see what he was talking about. I did that. Second thing, almost all of us have heard about the law of attraction and the other laws of the universe. And we think that the law does not apply to us. Okay, so while Donald Trump was running the first time, everybody was, he's such a joke. This is a farce. This isn't real. It's going to be a blowout, etc. And I was one of the few people who were saying, this guy can win. And that's because I was not listening to him. I was listening to the people who were looking at him. I could go into that a lot deeper, and I won't do that right now. Um, in this iteration, okay, so after he won, everybody's talking Trump, 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 and I kept saying the law of attraction says if you keep talking about him, he's going to win again. And people, I would be in a meeting and they'd be quiet for about 2 seconds. They're kind of looking at each other, and then, isn't he such a jerk? And guess what? He won again. And the people who fed him their energy, their psychic energy, don't want to own the fact that this is how it happens. That what goes around comes around. So I did after the election, I did 2 videos on the election, and I mentioned Trump both times. In the course of the last 8 years, in my videos, I've mentioned him 2 other times, and that's it. I don't listen to him. I don't engage in Trump talk. It's a discipline, and we have to be disciplined people. I talked about this, and if I can find it real quick, I'll stick it in our chat. Actually, I won't even try to find it real quick. I want you to attend our next talk next week this time, and I'll have the article that I'm looking for. But I talk about the 3 Ds of how we make this change: direction, discipline, and devotion. And if you've got those 3 things, we are going to be able to produce miracles. And if you don't have a direction, you're going to go nowhere. If you don't have the discipline to not to if my energy is feeding that, I'm going to choose not to feed it. I'm going to choose not to do that. And devotion means that you know in the deepest levels of your heart that what the right course is. That a woman having a baby knows that all the crap she's going through is going to be worth it. There's a knowing that transcends what you're thinking. One of the things I think is most interesting about the birthing process is you don't have the time. You don't know when it's going to be, and you don't know how hard or easy your birthing process is going to be. With my wife at the time, with my first child, I think she was in labor for maybe an hour and a half or 2. My upstairs neighbor, we didn't know how long she was. She kept thinking she just was constipated and she just needed to pass something. I said, yeah, what you need to pass is a baby. My upstairs neighbor just had a baby 6 months ago, and she was in labor for 48 hours. You don't know. And if I can, one more thing on children. I go to a place called Brighton Bush Hot Springs, Central Oregon. Beautiful place. If you haven't been, well, was a beautiful place, and it's getting to be beautiful again. It was ravaged by the fires. But when I was there pre-fire, I'd watch how these children that live in this absolutely lush environment, how they interact with each other. And they're playing these games where they make up the rules exactly on the spot and will abandon those rules as quickly as they adopt them, okay? So there was a kid that came in, kind of brought by their parents, and the kid wanted to organize them. And so, okay, well, you sit over here and you can be the such and such, and over here we're going to do such and such, we're going to play, school or whatever. And the kids looked at it like, I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to go over here, and the kid was like saying to the mother, bring them back. I'm not finished talking to them yet. And I felt sorry for her. She can overcome that, but she's being taught that this is the realm of her reality, and everything is happening right here. And those kids were all somewhere else, and nowhere near here. The Yeah, let me stop and let's get at least another question in, if there
Okay,
are any.
just want to say one last thing about, adding to your story, that the elders say, if you want to stop something, then go ahead and do that, but don't pour your mental, physical, spiritual energies into that. Instead, go to your heart and it will tell you what you need to do to go towards the world that we want today. And all of the sages of the world have always said that. I mean, they always say, wake up. So what does wake up mean? It means getting out of the head, being in the heart, being present in the moment. Okay, questions?
Okay, so and we're almost out of time. We have 12 minutes left, so let's how about one of you, maybe Sharif, actually, if you could take this one. And then we'll begin to close. So John says, and there's a follow-up question, but I'll use that as the closing. John says, we must communicate with others. How do we deal with disinformation?
Um, I actually think that's pretty obvious of how you do that once you are operating from your heart. Okay. Um, um, I tell folks it's really, really hard to lie to me. I don't necessarily know what the lie is, but I know that what you're speaking isn't the truth. And so our um, when you lie, okay, you are paying attention to the words they're saying, and if they got really pretty words, they can dazzle you. If or they've got, facts and figures, et cetera, et cetera. And the bottom line, though, is what's it doing here? What's it doing to you here? And so two things. Number one is you practice um, listening, not just with your ears. You develop a process where you can take a step away from what the logical thing of the moment is, and listen to whether or not someone is trying to mislead you. Um, oh shoot, and it's too late to do that now. I wish I could. There these pictures that are coming online now that are created by AI that are lies. This picture doesn't exist in reality. And people are interacting as though this picture is reality. There's a picture of a tiger cub, and this is the fuzziest tiger cub in the world, and it actually has a smile. Its mouth goes like this, and when it shows a human hand um, stroking the tiger cub, and the cub is preening and doing everything that a tiger cub would not do. But then you look at the comments, there's like 1,000 oh, this is so beautiful, this is so great, this is so, and nobody is saying this is so phony, you know. Now I'm not, I am, I do knock AI, but I don't, you know, you can do pictures with AI and you say, this is a picture I just drew with AI. Okay, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to evaluate it, etc., because you're not lying to me. But if you're trying to lie to me to say that that is a reality that we can experience in 3D, then I know who you are. Okay. Um, I don't believe that let me say the last thing here. Um, I don't think you can do it by yourself, especially if you are as old as I am, as we are. Larry and I call ourselves the junior elders here. Um, the but you've got to be in a community of people, in a community of people who doesn't want to be lied to. And the work that I'm doing, that we hopefully will talk more about next week, of developing a consciousness that where we are sharing consciousness not just with other humans that agree with us, but all other humans, sharing consciousness with all other beings, including the consciousness of beings who are more intelligent than we are. I'm talking about terrestrial beings, the cetaceans, whales, dolphins, etc. They're just simply smarter than we are. Our arrogance is what keeps us from seeing that. Once you see that, you go, hey, elder brothers, cool, you know, let's, you know, help us understand what we should be doing now at this moment. Okay. And I think that they will appreciate being asked. And that's all the answer I'm gonna do for now, given that we've got a stop coming up.
Okay, yeah, Sharif, you know, there's no such thing as a junior elder.
Come on. I, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to to go completely gray here. So
I'm 75 years old and I don't can just break myself down to junior elder or senior elder or whatever. We just call ourselves, we don't call ourselves. It's other people who call us elders, and I'm calling you an elder. Okay. With regard to knowing how to decide on deception, very quickly, we have a term called aware discernment. Aware discernment, which is what comes only from the heart. It doesn't come from the mind. The mind is going to be in all kinds of places, and you can't tell if that's the truth or not. But the heart never lies. It always tells you the truth. So aware discernment, especially today, in today's world, as they say, as the darkness comes up, as the light comes up, which people are waking up, the darkness will come up with it, equal to it for a period of time and look like the light on the surface. But your heart will tell you if it's in the depth. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, a moment. Here we are. Great. So we're about to close, and so just so you know, Kuuyux and Shariff, Jessica asked, can we invite others to this gathering? How can we help you reach more people? I did say yes. We have 2 more gatherings as a reminder to everyone. Next Thursday, same time, and the Thursday after, same time. It's open to everyone.
Thursday after is Thanksgiving. We're going to skip.
Oh,
and
yes.
unless you want to show up for Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
So the next one will be, so there'll be next week and then the 5th of December.
Okay,
Yes.
then I want to explain to everyone that what we're doing here is our own thoughts. And we need everybody to pitch in on what it is that we must do right now to help change the direction that we're going, which is, according to the elders and Mother Earth, we're going to become extinct if we keep on going the way we are.
Okay, Kuuyux, thank you. So started with optimism and ended with a very big warning. Yes. And a lot of courage and a lot of compassion and memorable stories and guidance that we can all take away from this talk here. And again, there will be 2 more, November 21st and December 5th. So to close here, the question, so Jessica had a second question, which was, how can we help you reach more people? And I want to add that to also asking you, Kuuyux and Shariff, how can people stay in contact with you or learn more about your work? So that's kind of a tripartite question to share any resources, invitations, how can people reach you and how can they spread the word?
Shall I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Number one, how can you help? We're doing these things out of the kindness of our hearts. It would be helpful if we had support. If you want the support button again, it's right there. And how can you help? Here's a bunch of buttons from about how to be in contact with me, how to check out some of the books and workbooks I've worked on. And if you haven't yet seen the TED Talk that I did, I would suggest you do that. It's 10, 12 years old. And somebody just said, page not found. That's interesting because I've been using it. Da-da-da-da.
Shariff, as a
So,
backup, go ahead.
No, that's
I'm gonna
interesting.
suggest,
Okay.
is there an email for PayPal or a handle for Venmo that we could use as backup since the link isn't working?
I'll work on that, and if there is in the next 2 minutes, I'll put it up there. How about that?
Okay, and otherwise maybe we could send it in an email afterwards if needed. Thank you, Tammy.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so as Shariff does that, Kuuyux, if you have any closing remarks, and then Shariff, when you're ready, I'll ask you to close us in completion.
Yeah, I just want to remind people that there are no more singular gurus. We are all gurus at this time. We're here for a purpose in this world, and we need everyone involved.
Thank you, Kuuyux. We are receiving your call. Okay, Shariff just placed another link in the chat.
Try that one.
Great.
My
That was
pretty
fast,
one
Shariff.
didn't work, so yeah.
Great, thank you.
Um,
Okay, go ahead.
so
Yeah, last words, Shariff.
so if we can close with something that I call our inclusivity prayer or inclusivity mantra. I've been working with this for a dozen years or so, and um, find it really powerful. This is something that's based on a Buddhist prayer, but I've modified it a bit. And the prayer is really simple. May I be well, may I be secure, may I be happy. And if there's an emergency, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then you can help others. Then may you be well, may you be secure, may you be happy. Then may we be well, all the people on this call, may we be secure, may we be happy. And then finally, may all beings be well, may all beings be secure, may all beings be happy. And I'm going to say that, and if you wish, you can say that to yourself silently, or if you're in a room where others won't be disturbed, you can say it out loud. May I be well, may I be secure, may I be happy. May you be well, may you be secure, may you be happy. May we be well, may we be secure, may we be happy. And may all beings be well, may all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy. And so it is, and so it shall be. And thank you, and I look forward to seeing all of you, plus a few more, next week.
Thank you, Shariff. Thank you, Kuuyux. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you, Olivia.
Oh, thank you, Olivia. An unenviable task. I mean, kind of managing us, but I think you did an excellent job. Thank you.